and authorize the university to use the photographs in print, digital, or web-based format for its promotional and archival purposes. And if you do not wish to have us use your photograph, please advise us by email at sarah@lakeedu.ca. This session is going to be 1 hour and 30 minutes in length, and we encourage people to keep their cameras on if possible, and also to remind people to be respectful of other people's stories that are going to be shared. If you have any questions at any time during the presentation, please use the raise your hand icon or take yourself off mute. We will also be moderating the chat, so you can use that as well to ask any questions or provide feedback or reflections on. And we're also going to be doing a short evaluation at the end. We'll have about a 50-minute closing where we will have the opportunity for question and answers as well. So please, if you want, you can take yourself off mute and ask the question or put it in the chat. An email with the recording and all the resources are going to be shared following this session. So now with that, I'd like to turn this presentation over to Kim Ramsbottom to introduce herself, who will then introduce our elder for the workshop. Miigwech. Kim?
Oh, thank you, Holly. And thank you for everyone for being here today. My name is Kimberly Ramsbottom. I am born and raised in the Thunder Bay area. I come from a very large family from this area and from the Nipigon Lake area. And I'm a mother of one and I'm a grandmother to many fur babies. So welcome all, and I'll hand it over to Beatrice.
Bonjour. My name is Beatrice Twans Hines. I'm from Bigtigong First Nation, and I've been living in Thunder Bay since 1988, and I went to school at Lakehead University in the 70s in Native Teachers Education, and I've been working with Sarah for a number of workshops, as well as working with Kim. I am a wife of how many years? My husband and I were just hugging this morning and saying how grateful we are, and you know, I think it's going to be 4 to 7 years this year, I think. Wow, so that's awesome. So we're really grateful for all that we have. I am a mother of 2 adult children, April and Gerald, and a grandmother of 2, Jackson and Audrey. Okay, so do I do the opening now?
Wonderful. Thanks, Beatrice. I'll just put our screen up here. Sorry. No worries. Thank you so much. So we're going to start off our presentation with Beatrice is going to open us up.
Okay. I guess I'll put this down here. I do have the smudge going here, and I have water and fire as well to pray for our women who are the water keepers, and our men who are the fire keepers. And I also have 2 spirit dishes here. One which will be for our spirit, and I learned this teaching from Tina Armstrong a couple of years ago. And you know, when she says, you know, we forget to pray for our own spirits. And when she said that, I was just in awe. I said, oh my God, I never thought of doing that before. So I do it periodically now. But I have been putting out the ancestral spirit offerings for a number of years now. So I like to say miigwech for all of you who are here today. So bojo minwa hijimnedo mishomsak nokmesak denaway maganak wabishko bebejko jim manitoi koi nindijnikas gichim migizi koi nindijnikas gaye makwa dudin bigtigong donji. Hello again, Creator, grandfathers, grandmothers, all my relations. My name is White Horse Spirit Woman. I'm also called Big Eagle Woman, and I'm from the Bear Clan, and I'm from Bigtigong First Nation near Pick River. Creator, I'd like to ask you to bless our water, bless the woman who are here today, and bless all the beautiful women out there, for it is International Women's Day today. And we ask you to continue to guide our women in the work that they do for the families, for our communities, and for our Mother Earth. And Creator, like to say, miigwech for the men who are here as well. Continue to guide them in the work that they do. Chimigwech to all all the fathers out there, all the daddies, the uncles, and so on. And we ask you again to continue to guide them also in providing that warmth and nourishment to the families and support also. And Creator, I'd like to ask you to bless this food which I'm gonna put out after our presentation today. We ask you to continue to guide our spirits in the work that we do, and to remember to always take good care of our spirits. Our spirit is the one that is guiding us on our journey here on earth. And Creator, I ask you to and Mishomsak Nokmisak to accept this offering of food that I will put out. And I'll put this out on the west side of the tree because it's where they say that our spirits go after we complete this journey here on earth. And for our spirit dish, our own spirits, I will put it out on the east side because that east is the place where we pray for that guidance and direction, to say Chimigwech for that opportunity of a new day, that opportunity to learn, that opportunity to accept the challenges that we might be given that day, and to accept the teachings that come along with those challenges, as well as the blessings. We say Miigwech to Holly and Kim and Jessica for all the work that they do with this program. So miigwech, 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 and blessings to all your communities as well. Miigwech.
Oh, thank you, Beatrice. Good. Right. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen, and I hope everybody can see that okay. Wonderful. Thanks, Holly. And like Holly said, I hope that you're all able, we're talking about self-care and the importance of caring for yourself and valuing yourself as, the important part of the equation. So I hope, you're able to take yourself, if you're not able to take yourself off camera, that you give yourself, this time, this hour and a little bit, to be present and try to, participate as much as you can. So turning off your screens, maybe turning off your phone. Again, I understand everybody's busy, but this is about self-care. So let's see what we can do about taking care of ourselves for the next hour in a little bit, okay? So Holly had introduced, the work that has been done through the palliative care for frontline workers and Indigenous communities. And, we cover a lot of topics through this work, understanding what the palliative approach to care is and helping people get the language and the understanding of some of the, the philosophy. And we talk about working with families and individuals and how we can do that in a healthy way. We talk about the importance of advanced care planning and pain and symptom management. Also, we discuss and explore last days and hours of expected death. We talk a lot about grief and loss, and in modules 6, discussing how we experience grief and loss and help others go through their grief and loss journey. We talk about the importance of healthy relationships and also how do we create that self-care within our own daily routine so that we can do this work that we're doing and encourage others to, get the care that they need. We always say you can't give what you don't got. So we really need to take care of ourselves. And the importance of coming together through community care teams. we know that, you know, it takes a team to do this work and to deliver this palliative care philosophy. So we talk a lot about care teams in this work that we do. So in the work, if any of you had attended the palliative care for frontline workers in Indigenous communities, we talk a lot about the Indigenous wellness framework. And during the workshops, we talk about, you know, what is important around those definitely the different concepts of, you know, and philosophies. And this Indigenous wellness framework and the palliative care philosophy really kind of go hand in hand. They, you know, both philosophies recognize that wholeness involves the body, the mind, and the spirit, and that healing needs to occur for the individual, for their family, and for the community. And we really talk about that in helping relationships and self-care in module 7 of that work. And we're really going to kind of dive into how we can explore caring for ourselves, as well as, you know, what we can actually do. And I'm going to give you hopefully some practical tips today to take with you. And I'm going to ask Holly right now to introduce a little bit of a poll that we're going to do.
Absolutely. So what we're going to ask you to do is complete this Menti question. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your phone, if you have it in front of you, you're going to use the camera function, and either you're going to take a picture of that QR code on the screen, or you can go to www.menti.com and Jess will put that in the chat. And when you get to that screen, you just enter the code 58141312. And as you're doing that, the question will come up and we're going to ask the question. So the question that Kim is asking people is to tell us something about yourself. Tell us something that is uniquely you. Tell us something that is exciting about you, something different about you, perhaps something that many people don't know. You know, maybe you're an avid Young and the Restless watcher and you never ever miss an episode. Maybe you've traveled the world and been to Bali 7 times. So we want you to put something in there that is really reflective of something that you want to share about yourself that makes you you, that makes you unique. So again, if you go to that QR code and you just use your camera and you click on it, it's going to show up. And if not, that chat is in the chat. You can just use that link and enter the code 58141312. And it's completely anonymous, so you don't have to put your names on it. And let's see let's see who we have in the room with us today.
I even tried it myself because I just thought, well, this is pretty neat.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't see it working.
Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, maybe people can put it in the chat. That'd be great. So tell us one thing about yourself. And if you can just put in the chat, that will be great, guys.
this is Kevin. On my screen, I see that there are 11 answers in the Menti system. Maybe you can't open them up, but do you see that slide?
Yeah, we do see it, but for whatever reason, we're not able to populate them. But that's okay. Thanks, Kevin. We'll just put it in the chat for now. So you got a couple of things going in the chat, Kim.
Wonderful.
You have, I enjoy relating to life through creating. I'm an avid chocolate peanut butter lover. I love my two grandchildren, Jackson and Audrey, very much. They bring me so much joy. Let's see who else is going to populate the chat. Oh, I love stand-up comedy. Okay, that's really cool. I'm a Doctor Who fanatic.
Wonderful. I see. Now, can you see the answers come up on the screen?
Absolutely. There we go, Kim.
Wonderful. I'm going to Vancouver next week. That sounds wonderful. Can you take me with you?
There's also one in the chat, Kim, that at the age of 46, I challenged myself to run and have accomplished completing a half marathon.
Wow, that is amazing. Good for you.
So Kim, if you scroll down a bit, you should see the bottom of the answers as well. Oh, and somebody retired yesterday. Just yesterday, somebody retired. So that's fantastic.
Oh, wonderful. You know, and I think that that speaks to the diversity even in this room, right? And that's what we're really going to talk about today, is that, you know, each one of us here is really going to need their own self-care, their own way of taking care of themselves. Everyone is going to have a very unique approach, and we're going to talk a little bit about some different approaches today. I thank you all for doing that. That was really neat, and seeing the diversity in this room just alone, right? Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you, Jess, and Holly, for getting that up there for us and walking us through that. All right. Okay, so when we think about the work that we do, often caring for individuals and families, you know, can be so meaningful, so rewarding and fulfilling. Many of you come to this work because, you know, you care for the community that you're working in or the people. You also, you know, sometimes you'll get called to do this work. I feel like often people are called into this work, whether it's through a catalyst, something has happened and you know this is something that you want to do. But being emotionally connected and concerned for your patients, for, you know, the clients that you're seeing, for their families, you know, and some of them might be your family, right? That can be very hard. For some of you, managing the disease process, knowing what's happening or what may happen and making plans, you know, witnessing the gaps in care that you might see, or seeing someone die in pain. That can be, you know, where we lose our innocence almost. And healthcare providers, you know, really can feel that impact by those non-physical dimensions of pain, which, you know, in the palliative care for frontline workers and Indigenous communities, we have seen, we talk about that a lot, right? That total pain. And for you that have participated, you know, knowing that there is more to pain than just that physical aspect of pain that we experience. When we are also witnessing people's pain, you know, we need to be able to take care of ourselves physically and emotionally and spiritually as well. If we think about that Indigenous wellness framework, you know, we're also looking, you know, not only at our clients through that lens, but also ourselves, right? How can we take care of ourselves? And I feel, you know, that often doing this work, we can also experience suffering alongside of people. What does that look like? How do we do that in a healthy way? And even learning about grief and the module that we cover in palliative care for frontline workers and in Indigenous communities, we talk about the grief that people will experience. And hopefully we're acknowledging our grief and that we're able to acknowledge our grief. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go along, but how important it is that even our agencies are acknowledging our losses as well. Because when we become vulnerable to people's pain, it can also leave us feeling very raw and very open to other issues, which we'll talk about along the way. So the reality is often, many of coming into this work feel very inspired, and then as time passes and the work and the resources and those lack of, people to do the work, or we might find those big gaps in services, we might feel bogged down, by policies, by procedures, and those moments where we might feel helpless or hopeless, and why do we continue to do this work? And I often feel about for people who are feeling always tired, right? That there's never, it doesn't matter how much time you get off work, how much time you're away from the office, or how much time you're away from the work that you're doing, you never feel like you're able to catch up on your sleep. You always feel tired. To me, that's a real sign that there's something going on. Maybe I need to look at some things in my own life, and how do I create the balance? And we're going to talk about that as we go along. But those traditional models, even of self-care, I've heard for many, many years of how we need to disconnect in order to reconnect. And I think about even how Beatrice opened us up, and she talks about all my relations, right? All my relatives. How are we connected? How do we get connected and to do this work that we're doing if we're disconnecting? And I really want to say that we're going to talk about the importance of connecting, not only in a micro way, but in a macro way. So we're going to connect with ourselves, but also with the world. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But it's really about the importance of connection in relation, in regards to relations, to all my relations. So, I think we need to start creating spaces in the work that we do that, acknowledge that there is tough times in this work, that, we have a society that talks about a culture of positivity, that we have to, maintain this positive attitude. And when people are feeling heavy and not able to embrace the work that they're doing, they might become really great at avoidance in their work. You might notice that there's some people that, stay at arm's length, or they might not be to be able to embrace the bad stuff too, right? And how do we create that culture in our work? For many people, I think even coming from in healthcare, they're told they have to have a tough skin, right? They need to have, it's the work you do, and you have to understand that people are going to, you're going to lose people along the way. I think that when we say that to people, we minimalize their grief, and we need to be able to place that somewhere, right? We need to be able to talk about it. And, I think there's a psychological toll of absorbing and bearing witness to continued suffering, right? Human suffering. When we see a continued, people, dying in pain, or not being able to get the resources, or that lack of that care, it can take a toll on us, right? So where do we put that, and how do we house that? And we're going to talk about that along the way here. I really believe that it's about creating balance in our lives, and the work that I've been able to read on, and the theory that I've been able to look at is really about not focusing on what cannot be fixed, but focusing on what can be fixed. How do we help support each other? How do we take care of each other in the work that we do? How do we create good boundaries? One lady that I was working with in particular, she said, sometimes we need to be able to say no, even if we got nothing to do. We need to be able to create that space. And I thought, wow, that's a really great point. Sometimes I need to be able to reflect on that it's okay if I don't have anything to do, and I'm going to just stick with that. I don't always have to jump. I know that people that come into caring professions often will be the first ones to say, I can do that, or I can help with this. Sometimes we need to be able to pull back too. And also understanding whose needs are we meeting at the time, right? So, are we taking care of our needs? Are we taking care of the people's needs that we're taking care of? And recognizing that we can, also navigate and negotiate a lot of politics and egos in the work that we do. And sometimes, we need to be able to pick our battles when emotions are high, when anger, is sometimes directed at us. It's not something necessarily that it's meant for us. It can be that we might feel attacked, we might feel defensive, and we might want to lash back out. And when we're in that place, I always think, okay, there's something going on, right? When Holly talks about the triggers, when we're triggered by stuff in the work that we're doing, I always say that's like a time for reflection, right? And supporting people in their pain, again, when we're in that continued, watching someone suffer or watching people suffer, we sometimes we can really set the tone by deciding how we take on the world, right? And it really begins with self-awareness, and we're going to talk about that too, and reflection of self. And I'm going to ask Beatrice, I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. I'm going to ask Beatrice to speak about how creating balance and speak a little bit to the good life.
Hi, bonjour. So when we talk about the Mino Bimodza, when Mino is good, Bimodza is life, so that's the good life. And if we look at the Indigenous wellness framework that Kim mentioned about, spiritual wellness creates hope, emotional wellness creates belonging, mental wellness creates meaning, physical wellness creates that belonging. So when we look at Mino Bemadzewin, it's that circle that trying to create that balance. And I always say that our body is the sacred lodge of our spirit, but our body is also the sacred lodge of our mind and our hearts. So we learn about that connecting, and everything is connected. Our thoughts are connected. If we have negative thoughts, that there's that law of attraction. So it's good to try to let go of those negative thoughts and think about things that we could do to be grateful for. So that creates that positivity. And one thing about Mino Bemadzewin is that connecting to culture. And there's different ways of expressing culture. And when we think about culture and what that means, language, belonging, meaning, community, ceremony, and so on. And if we think about God's creation too, and all that energy in the universe, and how we're all connected to that. And when I mentioned today this in the prayer, Kakina, Danawe, Magana, all our relations out there. They might be our family relationships, our relationships with others, our relationships with those that we work with, those who are in palliative care, and how we are doing our best to provide that comfort for them. But we also have to look at, like Kim said, taking care of ourselves also. And that's Minnow Bimodziwin. And when we think about also uh the circle, and how we are in that circle. And every morning when we wake up, we have that opportunity to say, me watch again, and every morning when I go out, I always offer that tobacco and say my prayers and pray for that guidance and direction from the ancestors, from our creator, and so on. And this morning when I was out there putting my tobacco, I said, oh, looking at that big pile of tobacco, and lots of prayers in there, and it's so nice, I really appreciate that, being able to do that. And like I said, every day brings us those opportunities for blessings, teachings, those challenges that we receive every day, and also the choices that we make in regards to those challenges that we face. And I always say that the choices that we make impact what road lies ahead. And sometimes we don't always make the right choices, but we learn from those choices. That's our experience. That's a new way of learning, and not to make that same mistake again, but to look at it in a positive way of saying, yeah, okay, I made a mistake, but what did I learn from that? And being able to move forward with that. And it's just like when you look at when we were young, or even looking at babies and how they learn. Oh my God, they learn so much when they first learn to walk. They fall, but they get up again. They fall, then they get up again. Then they get better and better. Then they're able to run. And so we could think about ourselves too. Every time we learn something new, we grow from that experience. And we grow up as adults, and we learn what our purpose is in life, our gifts that we have to share with others, and also our relationships with others as well. Learning about how to be kind to others, how to be respectful towards others, how to be respectful to our Mother Earth and what she gives us as well, and how to be grateful for that. And as we grow older, we learn that when we fall, it's not as easy anymore. It takes if I fall, I know it's going to take longer for me to heal, but that's part of the acceptance, and part of accepting that life's journey. Our bodies are not as strong as we used to be. So what we try to do in taking care of ourselves is trying to balance those four aspects of our being: the spiritual, the emotional, the mental, as well as the physical. And when we look at the spiritual aspect, what can we do? Well, we can participate in ceremonies, like we participated in a ceremony today. Even though it was via Zoom, it was still ceremony. And I will be offering those spirit dishes out, like I said, when I offer tobacco every day, that's participating in ritual, it's participating in ceremonies, when we get our spirit names and so on, if we don't know what our spirit name is. So that's part of the spiritual aspect. And the emotional, going to powwows, listening to those drums. I went to a powwow there a couple of weeks ago. Oh my God, it felt so good to hear those drums, to feel those drums, to dance with those drums, and as I was dancing along, sending those prayers out also, and another way of emotional is listening to the stories from the elders. I was listening to Ron Kanutsky last week telling some stories. Wow, it just in awe, because when I grow up, I don't remember listening to those stories from the elders. So it's really nice to do that. It really makes you feel good inside, emotionally, also participating in those community events and looking at fulfilling our roles and responsibilities, our roles as helpers in the community, and how we do that to support others, and recognizing what gifts we have to share with others as well. And the mental, um, like I said, listening to the elders, learning from them. I'm an elder myself. I'm really grateful for that honor of being recognized as an elder. But not all elders have everything to share. We all have like I said, different gifts. In every day is an opportunity to learn. And I love listening to the elders and what they have to share. So learning about our clans, our communities, our ancestors. Just last week I was looking at some of my ancestors and how some of the names originated. Like my great grandfather, his name was Mijakame Mijakamins. And my mom actually had that name, but it changed, and now there's Mishano that my grandfather was adopted, and so now that Mishano name is in the community. So other ways of mental also would be feasting our ancestors, feasting, using their favorite food, and getting the family together. That's that interconnectedness that we talk about. And physical way of balancing is gardening, beading. Whenever I do beadwork, I'm always thinking it gives me that opportunity to meditate, opportunity to pray, opportunity to reflect on different things. So it really helps physically as well as mentally, exercising, also going out on the land. I remember one time I was feeling really overwhelmed because one thing I had done and I couldn't access it. It was on the computer. We had a virus, so I couldn't access it. And I said, "Oh my God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do?" So I went outside. I put my chair, and I just felt that sunshine and the breeze, and I heard the wind blowing the leaves, and it felt so good. And I took my shoes off. I put my feet on the ground to feel the grass. And it felt so good. And I said, okay, I know what I have to do. I have to redo what I couldn't access. I had to redo it on my personal computer. Took me a while, but I redid it, and I got the proposal in on time. I think maybe I had a couple, I remember, yeah, I got it in at midnight. The deadline, I think, was around 1 o'clock or something. Anyways, I got that proposal in. I had to redo it, but I let that energy of God's creation, the ancestors, to help me in what I need to do. And you know, a lot of times too, when I get the tobacco and I say my prayer, then I know what I have to do. It helps me. So there's that belief in this. And you know, going out on the land, fasting, giving thanks when we drink that water, that nibit, and being grateful for all that's in our lives, and accepting those new opportunities to which will help us to grow. So that's what I think about Minnow Bimodzo and trying to balance. And sometimes it's not easy balancing. Sometimes it might be a little bit out of whack, but you know, we do our best to try to balance that medicine wheel that we all carry, which are the four aspects of ourselves. Like I say, miigwech.
Oh, Miigwech, Beatrice, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. I learned just so much, even just listening to that. And you speak to a lot of stuff that we speak on in this presentation, right? How, like Beatrice talked about, as everyone can see my screen okay? Wonderful. You know, you talked about so many different things and how we can connect with ourselves. And we're going to talk about that as we go along through this presentation. But that's really about that importance, right? How do I connect with myself? And, you know, how you were able to reflect on things just by taking that time and giving yourself that time for reflection. So important that we do that. So we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between self-care, self-awareness, and self-compassion. And self-care is really about that intention of creating a space to regroup and reconnect. I love what Beatrice says, right? Where she was able to get out in the fresh air and she was able to reflect on what she needed to do, right? So by giving herself some self-care, she was able to, you know, have self-awareness by creating that, right? And that is something that you can do to come back to your role with kindness and compassion. And self-awareness is about being in tune with our emotions and our worldviews and our values and beliefs. Understanding that, you know, our beliefs and our strengths and our challenges, understanding where we're at, right? Like I love what you said, Beatrice, about being able to connect with, you know, where you're at that time by just taking that moment and self-reflecting. And what am I feeling, right? What's happening right now? What am I doing and how am I doing? And Beatrice, you were able to find a solution by putting yourself in that position, right? By being able to do that with self-reflection. And in developing self-awareness, you know, we can reflect with objectivity and the sense of gratitude and self-compassion. And self-compassion is, you know, it's about being warm and understanding. And we talk about that self-compassion in that module, right? Helping, supporting ourselves and individuals. And we talk about the importance of, you know, if we suffer, if we fail, if we feel inadequate, instead of ignoring that pain or punishing ourselves with self-criticism, like Beatrice says, right, we have options, we have choices on how we talk to ourselves even. You know, sometimes I hear myself doing a lot of self-talk that's, you know, negative, and, you know, I can switch that around by just, you know, looking at it from a more positive lens. And I can actually switch my day around, like Beatrice says, right? Every day is a new day, and we can take on that day by how we choose to do that. And self-compassion means, you know, that we take in this balanced approach to our negative emotions, and, you know, that we're not feeling suppressed, and we're not exaggerating, right? Those emotions are still there, but you know, that we're just taking a little bit more of a balanced approach to those negative emotions that we're feeling. So what I'm going to do is walk you through a series of 8 kind of practical tips on how you can help yourself through self-care. And when we talked about connecting with ourselves and the importance of connecting with ourselves, it is true, right? If we think about coming from all my relations, that philosophy, and Beatrice, you talked about that perfectly, right? That you're connected not only to yourself, but you're connected to everything around you. And sometimes you can do that through different things and different ways of being. But I'm going to give you 8 kind of tips. And then, you know, definitely these are not the end all and be all, because we talked about everybody being very diverse in this room. And, you know, it's about finding your way to help yourself. So this is something that one of the great ladies that I work with, she said, when I participated in a ritual and, you know, I didn't know if it was something that I should be participating in. And I asked Janine if, you know, what her thoughts were on that. And she said, everybody benefits from ritual and ceremony. And she was right, for sure. I have definitely been able to witness that. And participating in ritual helps us to remind us that some things are beyond our control. And, you know, like I think of when I get in my car in the morning, I have a lucky charm that hangs from my mirror that has wings on it. And I touch that every morning, and I, you know, give a little bit of a prayer that, you know, hopefully I get safely to work, and that, you know, everyone else that I know that also gets safely to work, right? And, you know, creating those small rituals and incorporating them into your daily routine, whatever that might look like, whether it's taking your work clothes off when you get home, having a shower, going for a walk. For me, it is definitely when I get home from work, I like to make sure I have a routine of taking everything that I wore that day off and you know, washing up and changing my clothes, because I'm changing into, you know, a new kind of realm, right? I'm coming home, and again, how do I create that balance when I come home? Maybe if you want to place in the chat anything that you do to take on your day, whatever. So for instance, when I get up in the morning, the first thing I do, my first ritual, is I start off the day with music. So if you want to place anything that you might do to help you kind of take on your day, any ritual or ceremony that you do.
So Kim, in the chat, somebody had put that they wash their face right after work. So I guess very similar to you, kind of cleaning off some of the things that happened during the day and being able to be present for what's going to happen at home.
Yes, that's wonderful. I love that.
Starting their day off with a short walk with their dog in the fresh air, setting themselves on a good path, I guess. Opening windows would be another one. Coffee. Yes, Julie, I'm with you with the coffee. Reviewing your calendar. Julie, you and I started a day off the same way. Starting their day with a short meditation and poetry reading. Beatrice says miigwech. Minoa after she eats, and thank you again. And I've shared this teaching with her children as well.
Wonderful. Thanks, Holly. Is that it in there?
Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for putting in the chat some of those practices that you do, right? And again, it can be, you know, a very, you know, organized ritual, or it can be something that you just started doing, finding those new things that might start off your day really well. Breathing techniques. So this is something I'd like everyone, you know, the one thing that I have learned about breathing techniques is someone told me a while ago that you cannot be at a state of stress and a state of relaxation at the same time. So one of the things that I have when a client comes to see me, and they're very, you know, you can tell that they're overwhelmed. They've had a lot of impacts that day, and they're just feeling like, just, you know, they can't, you can see that they're not breathing. You'll see sometimes that you're holding your jaw really, really tight. This is something that you can do. Simple technique. I want everyone to place their feet firmly on the floor. Close your eyes, and I want you to picture a square in your mind. And one of the breathing techniques that I'll bring people through is the 4 squared breathing technique. And I want you to breathe in, and as you're breathing in, picture yourself going up one side of that square. And as you breathe out, go along the top of the square. And as you breathe in, go along the side of the square. And as you breathe out, going along the bottom of the square. And so you're breathing in to a count of 4, up the side, breathing out to a count of 4 on the top, breathing out to the count of 4 on the side, breathing in to the count of 4 on the bottom. And you can do that technique very, very simple, and you can do it a couple of times. You can go around that square a couple times, and that is really about how you can relax. Just getting that breathing under control will help relax tension, relax anxiety, and bring you back to a state of hopeful calmness, right? And that's a simple technique, but sometimes breathing techniques are a great way. There's so many different breathing techniques that you can go online and find, but this is the 4 squared breathing is something that I've found that works for many people. It's simple, and sometimes people will get them to put their hand on their heart because they're able to feel that heat from their hand, right? And again, that helps again ground them. Finding your spot. Everyone, it's important that you find a spot that you're able to connect with yourself, and that can be anywhere. This is one of my spots that I connect to, and I always thought I was disconnecting when I went to this spot. I thought, I'm able to let go of everything that I've experienced that day. But I think when I hear Beatrice talk too, I think I am able to connect at this spot because I'm listening to myself. I'm hearing, my reflections on the day. I'm also able to tune into myself, right? And everybody needs their spot. So whether that's, somewhere in your house, could be a favorite spot on, a favorite couch, or maybe it's outside in your backyard. Maybe it's at a park. Maybe it's somewhere, out in the bush. Wherever that spot is, finding a spot that you can go and connect with yourself. Again, like Beatrice said, right? Feeling that fresh air on your face and the sun. And I love what you do, Beatrice. You just go right outside into your front yard, right? And you have that spot where you're able to connect with yourself. So and that, again, it's finding your spot. Everyone here is going to have a different place that will help create that balance for them. Gratitude. This is something that I've read in the book from Michael Kearney, and he speaks of his book is in The Nest in the Stream, and he's a palliative care physician that came into this work with, again, all those ideas and hopes and dreams. And when he started working in this field, he recognized very quickly that it's very heavy work, and he starts off his day with a prayer of gratitude. So what I'd like everyone to do is I'm going to stand up. So I'm going to put my screen up here a little bit, and Holly, if you can tell me if that's okay. So I'm going to get everyone to stand up if you're able to. And what he does is he starts in the east. So east is over here. So he begins by turning to the east. And what he says is, I remember what gives my life its greatest meaning. And he says, I notice whatever I'm feeling of gratitude, I let myself feel that. And by remembering what gives myself greatest meaning, I feel gratitude for that, right? And then I turn to the self. So turn to the self. And I give thanks to creation. And as you do this, you can recall anything that you've had, any experience that any encounters that you've had that other than human. So anything that you've had in nature, anything that you've been able to experience. And I think of even this morning, I was walking out to my vehicle and, seeing the birds in my backyard and just hearing them, chirp and sing in the morning. Just being able to connect with that, right? Allowing yourself that few moments of simple happiness that you're able to connect with that. And then turn to the west. And I look toward my fellow humans, my loved ones, my patients, my teachers, those who are living and those who have already passed on. And I allow those feelings of gratitude for that those individuals have been part of my life. And then I turn to the north and I give thanks for my own life, for being alive in this world and at this time, and for all the blessings that I receive in abundance. And then I just sit there. He says, I sit there for a couple minutes and just allow those feelings of gratitude to come. I think this is a great way. We can all sit back now. I think, if we think about, and I'm just going to make sure my screen's okay there, Holly. Wonderful. This is something, when we talk about that self-compassion, starting off a day with gratitude allows us to connect with ourselves, but also start that day off with some good self-talk, right? Because we're being so appreciated. And I even think about what Beatrice says, right? Being thankful for your own life. And that's really how we can approach the day, by giving some gratitude. Senses. This is something that I've actually when I just participated in a recent workshop here at Sarah, actually, there was, we were talking about self-care and the importance of self-care. And there was a participant who had a little 5 senses pouch that she carried with herself to allow for self-care. And they talk about, we can connect with senses through, the 5 things we see, the 4 things we hear, 3 things that we might smell, 2 things that we might feel, and then 1 thing we might taste. Something that I have seen done is that we can connect through these 5 senses, just even from our car to when we're walking into work. This morning, I tried to do that by just connecting my 5 senses to just my walk into work. So what was that thing that I see, right? And I looked up and I seen this big, huge, beautiful tree. And what was that I heard, right? I heard all those birds this morning. It was wonderful. 1 thing that I smelled, that heaviness on the air right now. We know there's snow coming and you can almost smell it. It's almost thick in the air. And then the thing that I felt was I placed my hands and made sure I had my keys in my pocket and I didn't lock them in the truck this morning. And then, the 1 thing that I taste, I could still taste that coffee, in my mouth from that last sip I had before walking into work. And just even taking that 5 seconds to, just be in tune with your 5 senses can really help, again, ground you. And give yourself 15. This is something that I've seen people who work in healthcare often are constantly going above and beyond in the work that they do, and most likely are not taking their breaks or their lunch breaks. So, giving yourself that 15 minutes, if you're allowed, your breaks, take them. It's a simple way to be able to, again, come back to be able to do the work that you're doing. But 15 minutes, it's a micro a break kind of thing, right? You can help reduce your stress. It can help engage you more. It can invigorate you. Because I know I've seen people take a 15-minute power walk, right? Just to get their blood moving and pumping. You can come back, you're more attentive to your work, you're less fatigued. And it's almost like you're resetting. So I find if I'm sitting in front of a desk, in front of a computer for a long time, just sometimes getting up and going for a walk. We can do that physically by, stretching, drinking lots of water, like Beatrice said, right? Mentally watching, even a funny video sometimes during your break. Socially, we can chat with a coworker that's non-work related. It can be about anything, because even what we learned today is there's so much more to people than the work that they do. Embracing the moment. I think we can connect, spiritually by just resetting, by taking that 15 minutes to connect with ourselves. And that 15 minutes can be either, if it can't be during the day at work, that you do it in the morning before you start work, or even after. I started a routine that I gave myself, is that I try to moisturize every day. We live in the north, it's quite dry here in the wintertime, and I'm constantly feeling like I have dry skin. So just even taking that 15 minutes and putting moisture into my body, water, cream, allowing myself that time. I feel like we often as caregivers don't give ourselves those 15 minutes throughout the day to do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Mindfulness. I think there's often, and I love what Beatrice said about being able to connect with yourself, right? Practicing rituals that embrace your inner voice and really letting it guide you. So, in the work that we do, I've often seen caregivers come really late in their own health issues into healthcare, often because they're not in tune and checking in with themselves, right? So just focusing on what you need to be aware of, what you're feeling in the moment, without interpretation or judgment. So, and that's really about mindfulness. It's that we're connecting with ourselves. I love what Beatrice did when she was able to go out and sit in her chair and connect with herself and find out where she was mentally. That's practicing mindfulness right there. We can do it through different breathing methods, guided imagery, other practices that help relax our body and our mind can help reduce stress. And, definitely I've witnessed how putting these things into practice can be, so helpful. Like even for some people that participate in different workshops, they might bead, they might craft or draw during session. It just, again, you're creating that mindfulness. And hope. Even what Beatrice said about that we can connect with ourselves every day and that we can take on a new day, because I feel like often people get really bogged down by, if we're not taking care of ourselves every day, that we might feel like, we failed in some way, right? Having that self-compassion also means that we forgive ourselves, that if we skip today, that we don't get to that, that practice or that ritual that we need to do to help take care of ourselves. It's okay. I think we need to be able to forgive ourselves that, so what are the cues if we need to make sure that we are resetting, right? How do we put it on hold? So maybe placing it on hold until tomorrow and saying, it's okay. I'm going to forgive myself today and I'm going to go back to it tomorrow. Give yourself that permission. I think that sometimes we have this judgment. We feel judgment everywhere we go, but we also put a lot of judgment on ourselves, right? So accepting help too when it's offered, and just having hope that tomorrow is going to be a better day. So what does the being need? And, recognizing where we're at, recognizing those stressors. If you're able to take those minutes of, being able to self-reflect and connect with yourselves, you're able to, you know, hopefully accept those thoughts that are coming, and that, you know, that you're able to connect with yourselves, recognizing that every one of our journeys are going to be very unique. We're forgiving ourselves for, you know, those things that are coming that we're not able to address right away, and that we might adopt other ceremonies as well from other, you know, backgrounds that help us with our own daily rituals. What does the team need? You know, I think there's so many different perceptions and beliefs that come into, you know, our workplaces, that we're creating spaces that allow people to have a bad day. You know, that we're creating that safe place to be not okay sometimes, because not everyone is going to have, you know, this wonderful experience every day. Sometimes it's going to be heavy. And how are we allowing that space for people, you know, that we're coming from a strength-based kind of focus, and that we're holding presence for people. You know, we are internal critics, and, you know, hopefully we hear that often in the work we do, right? We should have, we could have, if we only had, if, you know, what about all the things that we did do well? Debriefing and check-ins. We talk about that in our, you know, palliative care for frontline workers in Indigenous communities, and creating those spaces. And it doesn't have to be necessarily, you know, the formal debriefings. It can be that check-in that we talk about, and checking in with our team and finding out, you know, if anyone's struggling. And you honor your team by creating those spaces and holding presence. And that we acknowledge, hopefully, you know, our agencies acknowledge grief. And also that, you know, if we're coming from an agency that works, you know, especially around trauma, that we are acknowledging the past trauma of our staff and the heaviness of the work. And this is a quote that I have definitely connected with, and it talks about the importance of creating that space. And when we have a witness to our trauma, we are able to acknowledge it. And that's really about the importance of how we start healing. And that's where we want agencies, hopefully, to encourage this trauma-informed approach to care. And that they're also acknowledging that their staff is working in heavy, you know, heavy work, that they, you know, that they're acknowledging it and able to help them process too. So that, you know, how do we acknowledge and bear witness to people's trauma? And that's really about creating that safe place for people to be able to process what they need to process, ask questions, right? And they'll feel that sense of control, right? Feeling safe and being able to, you know, include other staff in what's happening, right? And sometimes it's, you know, the importance of that, those check-ins with our staff, creating, you know, supervision that, you know, anything that can be talked about can be managed, and acknowledging that grief and loss. So are we incorporating processes that acknowledge the grief and loss from staff? And this is a great little toolkit that's offered by Hospice Northwest. And it's, you know, a toolkit for workplaces that offer a compassionate community, and that talk about the bereavement of staff, and how do we offer support to our employees. You know, it doesn't have to be this formal process. It can really about how can I be helpful? How can I acknowledge your loss? How can we discuss what happened? How can we check in with not just that individual, but with the whole team? Because maybe the whole team was impacted. And how are we following up with the staff as well? And how are we checking in with each other? So important that we do that. So here, this is, we're going to end off our PowerPoint today in this presentation with this prayer. It's something that was brought to me by a grief and loss counselor that has done a lot of work with helping to walk and companion people. And, you know, we learn a lot about that in our palliative care for frontline workers in Indigenous communities, about companioning and how we can support each other. But this is really about that we're not trying to fix people and their problems, that we're trying to help walk through what people need to walk through with them, and helping them find what they need. So for us, hopefully we're able to find what we need in life. But if we can't, that we, you know, look for support out there. So, you know, if you're really struggling in the work that you're doing, I hope that you're able to talk to somebody, to get counseling, to get support, whatever that might look like. Again, recognizing, you know, that you are able to connect with yourself and connect with others if needed. So these are some of the resources that are out there. I think they're great. The NAN Hope line is something that's fantastic, and something that you can offer for yourself as well as for your clients. And I would like to
Before we end, I just want to see, we have about 10 minutes before Beatrice provides some of her closing thoughts and suggestions and prayers for us. But I want to know, just want to see if there's any questions or comments that people have. If you want to raise your hand, you can just take yourself off mute, and we'll go through some of the questions. So is there any questions from anybody or anything that you want to add to the conversation?
or even any self-care practices that you do.
Go ahead, Kevin.
You know me, Holly, I can't stand quiet. Thank you, Kimberly and Marcy, Beatrice, thank you so much. I'm the one who retired yesterday, and somehow my chat is showing up anonymous. I'm not sure how that worked today, but retiring is relative too, because I'm having an awfully hard time doing it. I've been a client care coordinator with a company called Comfort Keepers, and have followed people, our clients, from their initial conversation right through to, in some cases, their journey home on the Spirit Road. And I've been doing that for a number of years. And even in, I'm officially retired today, but still working on a couple of cases, it just doesn't seem to end. However, what I wanted to say was that the timing for this was absolutely perfect for me. And I'm thinking it's probably perfect for everyone here, because when we need the education, when we need the hand up, when we need that hope, it appears. It just does. Whether you acknowledge it or not, at some point you'll understand that the Creator has a sense of humor. And if you really want to make them laugh, tell them your plans, or her plans. But I want to say thank you for today, because the next step in what I'm doing is with our Métis community. I'm a senator with the Métis Nation of Ontario, and although I won't be in a commercial capacity with this type of work, there's no question that everything I've learned through Sarah, and I think I took the course for frontline workers in November 2018, I think, or December 2018, December 12th. Remember that very vividly. So it's been a great journey for me working through this material, but what's next is even more exciting for me, because I intend to introduce it to our Métis community in a very tangible way, and I'm going to ask for Holly's help with that next week. We'll be working on a new project, but this is so important, ladies and gentlemen. Just take it to heart. Take it to heart. And Beatrice, goodness sakes, our bodies are the sacred lodges of our spirits and minds. I've heard that before, but my spirit heard it today. Sometimes we hear the words, sometimes we hear the words, and then momentarily we make it our own. So I hope that everyone here today heard something that they took into their heart and it becomes part of your daily routine. I just want to say that when I have hired staff over the years to work as PSWs and RPNs on our team, one of the questions I've asked every one of them early on in the interview is, what brings you joy? And oftentimes their eyes kind of glaze over and they don't know how to answer it. Oh, I love to help people. I love, oh, you know, my granny this, and I love to help people. That's not what I was asking. What I really want to get to is, at the end of the day, when you've had a really rough day, what do you do to recharge your batteries so that you can go back at it tomorrow and give some more? Because that's what we do, we give. And sometimes, some of our staff jump out of perfectly good airplanes, which doesn't make any sense to me, but it's what brings them joy. I have a master diver on my team who teaches, on my former team, who teaches people with disabilities how to scuba dive. That brings her joy. I don't care whether it's playing tiddlywinks, but we all have to find that for ourselves. And because I ask those questions, I know also how to reward them. If somebody loves tennis, you can buy them tickets to a tennis match. You know, it's very personalized. One of my staff had never been to a movie in her life. She was 39 years old and had never been in a movie theater. And so when you find something like that out, what do? You reward them with an experience they'll never forget. Give somebody a first. Anyway, thank you so much for everything today, Kimberly. Wonderful. I'll stop talking now.
Big witch, Kevin. Any other questions or comments before we hand it over to Beatrice? Well, if not, I do want to acknowledge and say thank you to Jerome. Jerome, it looks like you're on the road and either you're a paramedic or something, because you're responding to 911 calls as you're taking this. So I do want to say Miigwech for joining it. It was very exciting watching you. So Beatrice, I'll hand it over to you to close.
Okay, I'd just like to talk about rituals a little bit. I just want, in regards to when I eat, and I put that on the chat, I will say Miigwech Minwa, because I'm acknowledging all our ancestors that give of themselves so that we may live, you know, because without them we would be so pitiful. We'd have nothing. So I always say, yeah, Miigwech. And one time when I was sitting with my little grandson, I said, Miigwech Minwa. And he said that too. Then I shared a teaching with him about all our relations, and I told him, you know, that bacon that we're eating, where does it come from? He said, it comes from pigs. So, you know, they give of themselves so that we may eat. In that pork, same thing, you know, and the potatoes, the farmers plant those so we could eat them, you know, the eggs, it comes from the chicken, and, you know, so that I told them that's all our relations. So we have to be thankful for everything that's given to us. And that's why I say Miigwech Minwa. So, and another little thing that I do, I have, like Kimberly said, she has this little thing in her car, and I have this little necklace that I made, and it's hanging from my mirror, and it has B on it. It reminds me to take care of B. And sometimes I forget to do that. Sometimes, like, you know, sometimes when you get these requests, or people ask you to do something, and oh my God, I have learned to say, I'd love to, but, you know, sometimes you just have to say no, because there's just too much. Sometimes you just feel overwhelmed. And you know what, when you're feeling like that, you can't really give too much of yourself, because they always say you got to take care of you before you can help others. So you got to take that 15 minutes, like Kim said, take that 15 minutes. Sometimes when we're working, we forget to take that 15 minutes. So sometimes, you know, you just got to, I just gotta take that time for myself, and just let it go. Take that time to relax, and to take care of you. So remember, yep, you got to take care of you before you could take care of those that need you as well. So like they say miigwech. So miigwech meanwhile mido thank you for the beautiful gift of today. Thank you for all of us who are connected in this way, learning how to take care of ourselves, Miigwech, for all that you've given us, Miigwech, for our families and for our all that we have, all that we're grateful for, all the teachings, all the blessings, all the challenges, and Miigwech for all of us that and how we are connected here today. And remember to do what you can to take care of you and so that you could take care of others as well. So miigwech, 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 miigwech.
Miigwech, everyone. Bama P. Hope you have a great day and stay tuned for some resources, and the evaluation will come to you in an email. And if you can give us a few short minutes of your time to provide some feedback, we would greatly appreciate it. Bama P, everyone. Have a good day.